Hey there, welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report. This is the space where we bring you the headlines and the latest in Black news, views, and opinions. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi.
And I'm Melissa.
On today's report, we remember civil rights leader Vernon Jordan. We also have an update on the missing Nigerian girls. Also, an officer was killed in New Orleans over mask-wearing dispute, and Texas Power Cooperative files for bankruptcy.
More Black Americans become first-time investors in 2020. President Joe Biden makes a push for Obamacare. Zoom soars during the pandemic, and we let you know what happened today in Black history.
We have news on the annual Black Beach Weekend. The Atlanta Hawks make leadership changes. The Golden Globes respond to backlash, and we celebrate Black Girl Magic in honor of Women's History Month.
Yes, we do. We have all that and so much more. So if you're ready, it's our voice and our truth. Let's get it.
To me, this reeks of conflict of interest.
Do we know if he actually waved a gun? We only hear one side of the story.
This just really did make me feel good that the justice system did what they needed to.
We're going to keep following this story, and we will have the latest for you. Here are the headlines for the day. Civil rights leader Vernon Jordan has died at 85 years old. He rose from humble beginnings in the segregated South to becoming a champion of civil rights. He later reinvented himself as a Washington insider and corporate influencer. Jordan's daughter, Vicki Jordan Adams, told CBS News, "My father passed away last night around 10, surrounded by loved ones, his wife and daughter by his side." After stints as field secretary for the Georgia NAACP and executive director of the United Negro College Fund, he became the head of the National Urban League. He was the face of Black America's modern struggle for jobs and justice for more than a decade. He was nearly killed back in 1980 when a racist actually shot him. This all before he transitioned to business and politics. His friendship with Bill Clinton took them both to the White House, where Jordan was an unofficial Clinton aide. Jordan's death comes months after the deaths of two other civil rights icons, U.S. Congressman John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian. And to that point, CBS's Jeff Bennett actually, pointed out we are losing an entire generation of civil rights leaders, right? So along with Jordan, Lewis, and Vivian, Reverend Joseph Lowry, Emma Sanders, Charles Evers, Elijah Cummings, Amelia Boynton Robinson, so many more. Vernon meant so much to so many people, but something that I think a lot of people would be familiar with, but he was a mentor to lots of Black lawyers across this country, a huge mentor, including my stepfather. So this is a bit of a personal story for me. Used to come to the house and mentor my stepfather. My stepfather was a defense attorney, and it kind of like a funny story. At one point, my stepdad, he wanted to get more personal injury clients. So he created this cheesy newsletter, and Vernon called to scold him. And my mom was telling me about that story this morning. Like, he called him and be like, we're not doing that. I don't care what you're trying to get. We're better than that. Exactly.
Wow. Well, you think about it, since 1970, executive director of United Negro College Fund, all the way to the White House, he was an icon for his work and the things that he did for us and for this country. So he would truly be missed, and prayers go out to his family.
And also under his leadership, when he was at the National Urban League, the chapter, more than 17 chapters grew under his leadership, and the budget grew to more than $100 million. So, even before, like you said, Brooke, he went into other sectors and grew and, got to be an aide with Bill Clinton. He has been putting in the work, and this is absolutely a big loss for the Black community as a whole, for sure.
Yeah, speaking about his relationship with the Clintons, I was reading an article on him in Politico magazine today. And, when Barack Obama was going for the presidency back in 2008, a lot of people assumed that he would be, one of his largest, backers, but he wasn't. He actually endorsed Hillary based on the relationship that he had with the Clintons, and it actually soured his relationship with Michelle, if not for a short time. He's quoted as saying, "Michelle, I am too old to let race get in the way of friendship." So he was known as not necessarily an assimilist, but somebody who kind of just understood when to kind of roll with the punches and how to pick his battles. I guess he learned that in the 50, 60 years that he was, in public office. Yeah. All right. Well, a prosecutor declined to file charges Tuesday against a suburban Detroit man who displayed a Ku Klux Klan flag in his window next to the home of a black family, saying the horrible conduct doesn't violate Michigan law. An ethnic intimidation charge would require physical contact, property damage, or threats of such activity, said Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy. Jadona Dingus, 57, of Grosse Pointe Park, said the Klan flag was hanging next door in a window directly across from her dining room. The incident occurred 2 weeks ago. The flag was removed after police visited the home, city manager Nick Seisland told the Detroit Free Press. The man's girlfriend claimed they couldn't afford a curtain, Seisland said. There's absolutely no question that what happened to Miss Dingus was despicable, traumatizing, and completely unacceptable, Worthy said. But very unfortunately, in my view, not a crime. The KKK flag, while intending to be visible to Miss Dingus, was hanging inside of her neighbor's house. Before the flag incident, Dingus said she was concerned about her safety after finding a full gas can inside of her outdoor recycling bin. Now, something else that the prosecutor, Worthy, who said, quoted as saying, who is also black, I strongly encourage the Michigan legislature to look, revise, and create laws to protect citizens from this kind of horrible conduct. She said, and Ms. Dingus said that she understood Worthy's position. She just said, I hope that lawmakers are listening. The average person would not own a Klan flag, which is a true symbol of hatred. And, just the fact that they said we couldn't afford a curtain, so we just put up the KKK flag that we just had in the attic collecting dust because, whatever. But I am disturbed by the fact that they, that Miss Dingus found a full gas can in her recycling bin because... Yeah. It is a problem.
Melissa, that is so scary. Honestly, that was, I read that part. Of course, you said that the last part of your story, but that was the scariest part for me. Like, other than that, the KKK, it's inside of the flag there. It's inside of their house. I mean, what can we really do about that? But the fact that someone came to my property, put a full gas can, that is so scary. It was absolutely a symbol of hatred, and it was meant to terrify her. And so I don't know what kind of law could be set in place when someone is inside of their own personal property. I don't know what really can be done. I'm sure there is something, and we need to investigate that for sure.
Well, hopefully she gets cameras for her house. If she doesn't have them, I'm sure she will. Don't know if you watch the ID channel, Fear Thy Neighbor. That's what this reminds me of, because they're going to continue to get bolder, probably. I mean, if someone does this, they're saying something, right? They have a problem. After the election, there was a lot of people in my neighborhood putting up Trump 2020 still, right? Okay, that's politics. You can push that to the side. You can ignore that, but you can't ignore this.
No, it's a symbol. Can't. And, to the point that, obviously, like Demi was saying, it's something in this person's own home, so it is not a crime. But it's good to have this on the record, because if a crime does occur, it's going to be hard to say it's not hate-based.
True.
You know what I mean? When you have this completely on the record, documented as a big part of the history.
And then also, I was reading a little bit more the story that I was happy to know that a lot of people got together and protested. I think it said a couple of dozen. I wasn't sure if it said a couple dozen or a few dozen, but it was more than 20 people came together to support her. In this tragic accident. I mean, it wasn't tragic, but I mean, it was very scary. It was just traumatizing is the word.
She lived alone or not, but I mean, I'm sure her family will be looking out for her. But man, that's a problem.
Tough,
Absolutely.
Okay, so a police officer working security at a New Orleans high school basketball game was shot and killed because a man tried to enter without wearing a mask. 35-year-old John Shallerhorn was arrested Friday night for armed robbery and first-degree murder of a policeman, according to local station WVUE. New Orleans police officials say Tulane University police officer Martinus Mitchum was shot during the game at George Washington Carver High School. Police say Shallerhorn was attempting to enter the school but was refused entry for not wearing a mask. A fight then broke out with the school employee. When Mitchum intervened to break up the altercation, and as Shallerhorn was leaving, he shot the officer twice and then placed the gun on the ground. He was then taken into custody. I'm wondering if you guys are thinking what I'm thinking. So do you remember, last week, this was my exact example when we talked about defunding school police. This is my exact example. You guys can think back when we were talking about, this is a great thing. All these schools want to not have police officers in school. What was the example that I used? I said, what happens when we're at a school basketball game and something breaks out and we don't have cops? When I read this, I was like, I know they're going to know I'm going to say this. I mean, that is my thing. I know that it's great that we don't want to have police and we want to defund the police in schools, but situations like this, I feel like if there was more security, maybe someone could have got on the mic and this could have been de-escalated much quicker before someone had to do.
I mean,
lose
but
their life.
there was a police officer in this instance, and he got shot and killed. So it didn't prevent anything. Having a police officer,
unless you're saying there could be more officers
I'm saying there should be
for a
more
game.
security. Absolutely.
No.
I don't think we need to militarize our schools. I
feel like basketball games, you know, when you talk about sports and rival schools and rival teams and things like that, you have people that want to see their star players not be able to make it to the next level. You have people that want to harm the players. So I feel like basketball games and sports games is somewhere where there should be
But
more
do you
security.
see what you're like asking for realistically happening at Beverly Hills High School?
No.
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 So are we being honest that we're only talking about predominantly black schools, and shouldn't we be getting away from that? Like,
well, we want to try to, but let's just get away from the basketball game, period. This guy
What do you mean?
robbed someone before he even went inside the game. So if
He
you
had a
ask
gun
me,
with him.
he was looking for trouble the whole night, whether it was a grocery store, a club.
Thank you, Romeo.
Something was going. That's why I want to get more detail of what was going through this dude's mind. Maybe even his past records, because it's bigger than the school, right?
Yeah.
Can't we agree on that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate it happened
we all
there,
for
but
sure
No,
agree on
the
that.
reality of the situation is, like you said, Romeo, this was a guy that was looking for trouble. He'd already committed an armed robbery prior to this incident happening. And two, the story was about less cops in schools was because of students being handled, black students being handled like they're adults. This guy didn't even go to the school. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, it's not really the same thing when it comes to cops being in schools, handling the student body versus somebody who doesn't even go to the school, who's a full-on adult who came there armed and prepared to, to wreak havoc.
I just don't think that he just came there for no reason. I feel like there was a reason why he came. There was a reason. I don't think he just said, how did he know it was a game? He knew there was a game. He was attached.
Right.
There was a motive.
However,
if
you rob someone before you even walk in the game, but yet you still want to go to the game instead of leaving after you got a chain and medallion, and you still going to walk in the game, he had other intentions. He really did.